Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Gardetrace. The Universe Survival Arc is finally here. So of course there's a whole lot of buzz going around. Now one thing that we're talking about is the fact that, there are so many different gods and angels that are being introduced at once from the different universes. That's definitely something to talk about, but that's not why I'm here right now. Because as interesting as that may be, there's just something that everyone is much more interested in talking about. And that would be the fact that we have a new character that we're introduced who's going to be part of the Universe 16. And this character is a female Broly. No, I'm serious. No, I'm not joking around. No, I'm serious. Like, I'm not bullshitting. Do not blow this off. I am serious. Still don't believe me? Well then take a look at this. See? Just when I remember when I first heard about this, I thought it was hard to believe as well. I thought it sounded weird as fuck, to be honest. But what we have here is we have this newly introduced character. One, this is a female Saiyan. A female Super Saiyan, to be exact. And she looks like Broly. So, pretty much, our newly introduced character is a Rule 63 version of Broly. Of course, understandably, this has kind of created a bit of a split in the fan base. People who are for this, people who are against this. But, that just sounds like the entire Dragon Ball franchise in a nutshell. One thing about this I gotta say is, it was weird, but it's also a very interesting thing. Now, one thing just to clear everyone's head about, just to let everyone know, that way they don't get shit confused. She is not Broly. Okay? Because one thing you gotta remember about Broly. Broly is a movie exclusive character. Okay? He is not part of the canon. Broly is not an Akira Toriyama creation. So he does not exist in the Dragon Ball series. He's just a movie exclusive character. One thing to take note, it's not like all of a sudden we start having the other universes now. Like, let's say for example, what they say about the universes is like the universes, when they get together, there are certain of them, like when certain numbers of the universes getting together, what they add up to would be 13. So Universe 6 and Universe 7 would be the opposites of each other. So let's say you have Universe 1 and Universe 12, they would be opposite of each other. So but one thing you got to take note about this. Even though Universe 6 and 7, they're the opposites, it's not like they're completely polar opposites. Like, for example, in Universe 6, there is no Goku, no Vegeta, okay? So it's not like we have complete alternatives. And another thing is, there is no planet Vegeta there. There's an entirely different world for the Saiyan homeworld. So, one thing to take note is, now we have this female Broly, so of course, since Broly is not canon, period, she wouldn't be like the Universe 6 version of Broly. Now, what she simply is a tribute to Broly. That's all she is. She's simply a character whose design is inspired by Broly. One thing that we see with her is that, well, she appears to have a very timid disposition about her when she's just in her base form, but once she transforms, she like hulks out and goes like in a pure rage mode. So she has a bit of like an Incredible Hulk thing going on with her in that regard. When it comes to female Saiyans, when it comes to named ones that we get within Dragon Ball period, whether it be like manga or an anime, we only get two. The first one was from Bardock, the father of Goku, in the name of Fasha. The second one we see in Dragon Ball Minus, which is Goku's mother, Gine. But the thing is, in the series proper, in the TV episodes spanning from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, GT, as well as Dragon Ball Super, we haven't had any female pure-blooded Saiyans, and especially not any Super Saiyans. This would make this newly introduced character the absolute first. Now, one thing you gotta know, we know absolutely nothing about her, as she just had a very tiny little glimpse, like a very tiny little glimpse, in the preview for Dragon Ball Super episode 76. Now, one thing about this idea is, she is something that people are just saying that, they're just pretty much using her as being a ripoff of Broly. There's like, of course, you have Broly. He's somebody who we've wanted to be canon. Broly, everybody's just been saying, we want Broly to be canon. And we've also been saying, we want a female Super Saiyan. Toriyama and Toei, like whoever, was the one that orchestrated this, whichever one of them did, they pretty much killed two birds with one stone. We want Broly to be canon. We want a female Saiyan. There you go. You got your wish. Of course, Broly is not a Toriyama creation, but this isn't the first instance where we've had something that was not a Toriyama creation, but we've implemented it within the canon. For example, in the previous story arc, we have Vegito use the Big Bang Kamehameha, which is a video game exclusive move, because we have Vegito performing that move in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. So this isn't really the first instance. And when it comes to implementing Broly in the canon, now there have been several things out there that, well, kind of been implementing him in, like little bits and pieces of things that you see within the canon that have been kind of inspired or like draw a striking resemblance to Broly. For example, in movie 8, when Broly is restrained and he goes Super Saiyan, his hair turns blue as opposed to the traditional golden. And guess what new form we introduced in Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F? Also in movie 10, when Broly is restrained, there are instances where his hair appears pink or mauve as opposed to blue. And guess what form we introduce in the future Trunks arc in the form of Super Saiyan Rose. Also in the same arc, we introduce Super Saiyan Akari, and when we see Trunks in the form, he greatly resembles Broly in his legendary Super Saiyan form, especially in terms of the hair and also the fact that his eyes go completely white. As you can see, there have been other examples of Broly being implemented within the canon. Like, different things that have been, inspired by him. It's just the only difference between this and those would be this is the most blatantly obvious thing about it. And then, of course, the second most obvious thing would be, Super Saiyan Akari Trunks. When it comes to a female Broly, there's been a lot of fan interpretations of that. Now, when it comes to fan art depicting a female Broly, there is a ridiculous amount to be found all over the internet. There's a lot of fan art out there in general that likes to depict gender bends of Dragon Ball Z characters. And they also like to depict female Broly as being this slender, hot girl, as opposed to being huge and bulky as Broly normally is. And this is also a very popular choice amongst cosplayers out there, as many of them have gotten in on this. But now female Broly has become canon, and she looks a lot more like Broly than her fan art likes to depict her as. So it's kind of like, right now, Toei is kind of, or Toriyama, or, both of them, they're kind of listening to, like, the fans are, like, observing things that the fans have been wanting, and they're giving it to them. Let's just see, like, where they go with this. So, okay, we have a female Broly lookalike, okay, because that's basically what we would call the more correct way to call her, because of course she herself is not Broly, nor is she like supposed to be related to him in any way. And then that also raises a few questions regarding her transformation. Like, is it the legendary Super Saiyan transformation itself? Because of course that transformation, as well as Broly, they're not Toriyama originals. So are we actually going to call that legendary Super Saiyan? Because one thing you got to take note is, in the series, when it comes to the legendary Super Saiyan transformation, that's just simply the Super Saiyan transformation. Because Goku was the first Super Saiyan, I should say, in a millennia. The legendary Super Saiyan transformation itself, as it is portrayed in movie 8, 10, and 11, that's not a thing. So we don't know if they're actually going to try to implement that exact form in the canon and call it the same thing, or if this is just going to be an entirely new Super Saiyan transformation that just bears a striking resemblance. Because hell, we've had the Ultra Super Saiyan transformation. That's the one where Trunks basically just hulks out, which, that right there, it looks a lot like Broly. So, it's just a matter of, what are we going to call it? Because remember when during the Future Trunks arc, we have Trunks, his new transformation where he looks like a cross between Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan Blue, and Legendary Super Saiyan. We finally have a name for it as Super Saiyan Akari, but it's like now we have this form. It directly looks like how Broly does in his Legendary Super Saiyan form, but what are we going to call it? So that's pretty much the question there. And also another major question would be the character herself. It's like, we don't know what her name is yet. All we have of her is that tiny little glimpse in that preview. So it's like, we see that she seems to have like a rather shy, timid disposition about her. And then she gets into rage mode. But one thing about her is I hope she can be a very fleshed out character. She can be a character that we greatly explore upon. There's one thing about Broly. Now, Broly was not a wasted character. When it comes to the movie villains, Broly is the most popular and most utilized of them when it comes to like material that he appears in. he has Wolverine levels of publicity. You see Wolverine and everything. Well, Broly pretty much gives Wolverine a run for his fucking money. Broly is pretty much in virtually every video game, and like hell, we have this like Dragon Ball Fusions where, you know, what's the thing that they're promoting? A fusion between Broly and Goku. So it's like, that's not the problem. The problem is Broly's as a character, like when it comes to his personality and his backstory. That's the part that they really could have explored upon, because, you know, the whole thing where, you know, Broly, he's in his incubator. He was born on the same day as Goku, or should I say Kakarot. And, you know, Kakarot kept crying. Broly couldn't stand to hear it all day. It's like, you know, it's kind of a weak story. Who the fuck remembers who's in the incubator right next to them? Do you guys remember those? Like, let's say they have them room of babies. Do you remember all the other babies that were in that room with you? No, the fuck you don't. So, you know, and then of course that whole thing, you know, King Vegeta orders his death. He gets stabbed. You know, he could have been, like, when it comes to just his core character, like, much more interesting. But of course, you know, we got what we got. So when it comes down to this girl, I hope we explored about it. I hope she's not just simply like, you know, a shot, like, you know, your timid stereotype, and just, you know, she just goes Incredible Hulk on us. I hope we don't have that sort of a thing, because, oh my god, that would just suck. I want her to have more of a personality. I don't want to view her as pretty much, you know, like Hinata from Naruto, because that's what she seems like, especially, you know, with the way she just, like, the way she stood there in her base form. She kind of reminded me a bit of how Hinata from Naruto would be. And then, of course, like, let's say, imagine if Hinata turned into the Hulk, or, like, sort of something like that. I don't want that sort of a thing. I want her to actually be more of her own unique thing, and more fleshed out, like explaining who she is. Now, we're wondering, is she Cabba's sister? Like I said, we don't know. This is just purely speculation. We don't even have a name for her yet. We won't get that until we are properly in the episode where she appears. When it comes down to this, I think this is ultimately a good idea. But of course, Super has had good ideas, just they haven't utilized those ideas very well. I really hope that this girl Broly look-alike that we have, I hope that she can really be a memorable character, a character that we can really get behind. I hope she's not going to just be a complete flop of a character, because if that's so, that would just be a shame, and it would just pretty much prove my point of what have been saying about Dragon Ball Super all this time. Pretty much what I've said in my rant, where I tore the end of the Future Trunks arc a new one, and of course in my recent rant where I'm talking about, you know, like leading into the Universe Survival arc. So, you know, there's going to be a lot more characters to introduce, but of course, right now what everyone is focusing on is Girl Broly right here, which that's all we can pretty much call her for now, until we get a proper name for her, as well as a proper name for her transformation. But I don't want her to just simply be Broly. Like, let's say, I don't want her to just simply be, you know, like Broly, where, you know, she's just pure rage and no personality. Because Broly himself, he's not so much of a character as, you know, he would be a force of nature, like a hurricane or a tornado. Personally, I'm looking forward to Girl Broly. I think she could be very good. It's a matter of seeing how the Universe Survival arc is gonna ultimately play out. So what do you guys think of Girl Broly? You think it's a good idea, or you think it's a bad idea? Do you like the fact that after all this time we're finally getting what we want, a female Super Saiyan, which is something we haven't fucking had ever? Or are you disappointed as fuck that we're having a female Super Saiyan and Broly all in one? But whatever your opinion, let me know in the comments below. Also, like, and subscribe for more content to come. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and make any suggestions you want about videos you may want to see me do in the future. So with that being said, that'll be the end of this video. Have a good day, everyone. This is Trace, signing out.
My skin is cold. Transfusion with somebody. Morals and no.